Hello, in this video we're looking at issue 20 of Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine and then learning a key rule for the Necron army which we'll be showing off in our game. Hello, I'm Will, this is Mike, we're the Tabletop Donkeys.
Hello.
And in this video we're bringing you issue 20 of Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine. With this issue we've got two paints, Khorne Red and Troll Slayer Orange. As usual you can use the timecode in the description or the chapter bar to skip ahead to the battle report if you'd like to. There'll also be a link to where we're going to have a look at the entire collection so far in the first 20 issues. But we'll have a look inside the issue itself first. First up we have a battle record for your entire Ultramarine strike force. We've obviously seen battle records for individual units so far, but this is for your collection as a whole. So you can give it a name to the strike force with a table generator there, name your captain and the lieutenants as being your chapter command. Over the page we've got the rest of the strike force, and it's actually interesting to note that this has entries for all of the Space Marine units we will receive with the collection. So with a couple of exceptions for named characters, you can actually see everything we're going to be getting for the Space Marines, and you can fill this in as we receive those units. And there's also a campaign record for significant achievements by your army. And then we've got the same thing for the Necron tomb world, so you can name your own tomb world, and the Pharaon of your dynasty, who looks like he's going to be coming on a Catacomb command barge later with the collection. And overleaf, we've got all the Necron units, and again, this looks like a complete list of all the Necrons that we'll be getting over the course of the magazine. Then we've got some information about the Emperor himself, the immortal leader of the Imperium of Man. Long ago, he walked among mankind and, through his leadership and abilities, united mankind on Earth and then launched the Great Crusade to retake the galaxy. But since he was mortally wounded in the Horus Heresy, he's been confined to the Golden Throne, which is effectively a giant life support device. His entire body is pretty much withered away, but his spirit remains and continues to guide the Imperium that he rules, as his spirit does battle with the forces of the Warp. And over the page a bit about the Astronomicon, the big psychic beacon projected by the Emperor that helps with navigation of ships, and also the Emperor's personal guard, the Adeptus Custodes, who are responsible for his security. And then we have a bit more about Necron technology. We've got some examples of their fantastically advanced devices that they use, including chronometrons, which allow them to manipulate the passage of time, and dispersion shields for personal protection. And there's a bit about the cryptex. Other things including reanimation beams that help Necron self-repair, quantum shielding, which is a powerful shielding technology for vehicles, and their translocation technology, which allows them to essentially teleport at will. And finally we have a guide for how to use our new paints. So it suggests here using Khorne Red to paint the sort of ropes and tassels on the aggressor sergeant and the captain, and also the coils on the lieutenant's neo-Volkite pistol. And then a new technique which is to thin down the Troll Slayer Orange quite a lot with a lot of water, more water than you would normally, and then paint it into the recesses on one of your containers to make it look a little bit like rust, either to make rusty streaks down flat panels or into the recesses where the rust would have accumulated over time. And there's a gallery just of those models there showing what that looks like. But that's it for our issue contents, so now we're going to have a look at the entire collection so far, and once we've done that, we'll be on to our game. So here we have the complete collection up to issue 20. We've laid it out on the larger of the two battle mats. There's also the smaller one in the centre. We'll have a closer look at the Space Marine collection. We've got 19 models so far. In the front row, we've got 3 characters going from right to left. The Primaris Captain miniature, which is exclusive to Imperium magazine, the Lieutenant, and the Librarian in Phobos armour. Behind them, we've got 13 Assault Intercessors, the 3 easy-to-build ones in the middle row, and 2 squads of 5, and then 3 easy-to-build Aggressors with Flamestorm Gauntlets. And then the Necron collection, we have 28 miniatures. Again, in the front row, from left to right, we have a Necron Overlord, a Royal Warden, and a Technomancer. In the row behind them, there are 3 bases of Canoptek Scarabs, 5 Flayed Ones, and 3 easy-to-build Necron Warriors. And in the back row, another 10 Necron Warriors, 5 with Gauss Flayers and 5 with Gauss Reapers, 3 Scorpec Destroyers, and a Canoptek Plasma Sight. And the scenery that we've got so far forms a complete Munitorum Armoured Containers set. That is 3 armoured containers themselves, along with 12 ammunition boxes and 9 Prometheum drums. As I mentioned, we've got a large battle mat. We also have the smaller battle mat that you can see in the centre of the picture, and on that there is a 12-inch range ruler and 12 dice. And not pictured are also a load of wound marker counters and a set of objective markers that we got. And finally, also not pictured are 12 pots of paint, a starter brush and a medium dry brush, And also not shown here is any of the subscriber gifts or anything from the premium subscription, because we don't have any of those things. So that's it for our first look over the collection. We'll do these every 20 issues so we can see how the collection is building up over time. But for now, with all of that over, we will head into our game for this video.
So as usual, before we can get into our game, we have some new rules to learn, and this one is actually some very important rules for the Necrons, Reanimation Protocols. So the Necrons being advanced machines, actually if they're blown apart or destroyed or such, there's a chance their bodies will regenerate and knit themselves back together, and the slain warrior will get back up. So most of the Necrons as part of the collection have these rules, and I'm just going to skim over it here. It looks fairly complicated, but once you sort of get used to how it works, it's actually fairly simple. Basically, whenever an enemy unit causes casualties to a Necron unit by shooting or fighting it, you can roll a number of dice equal to the number of wounds of Necrons that have been destroyed, and then any 5s can be used to sort of get Necrons back up. And it is important to note this only works when a unit takes casualties from shooting or fighting, because there are things like psychic powers or, say, a vehicle exploding that Necrons can't come back from, which is a little bit strange, but it's just how the rule works. And since reanimation protocols don't work with units that have been destroyed, you can basically assume that any single model units won't have it. So none of the characters will, but the destroyers, the warriors, and the scarab swarms all have reanimation protocols. Also worth noting, it up here it says that reanimation takes place before consolidation, which can be important in melee. But here you can see in this fight 4 Necron warriors have been killed by these 2 assault intercessors, so they roll for reanimation protocols, and every 5 is a success, so they roll 4 dice because 4 Necron warriors have 4 wounds between them. And then there's 2 successes, 2 5 pluses, so 2 more Necron warriors can come back. But you can only bring back models with their maximum number of wounds, so Necron warriors only have 1 wound each, so 2 5 pluses get you 2 warriors back. With multi-wound models, so if this was destroyers, took a casualty, they would roll 3 dice, because destroyers have 3 wounds each. Every dice would have to be a 5+ to actually bring a destroyer back, because you can only bring models back with 4 wounds. And when you bring back a model, it has to be in coherency with its unit, and they can only be brought back engagement range if the unit itself is already in engagement range, so you can't chain the new warriors back into melee range. And if a unit is trying to charge and takes casualties in the process, you can't bring models back so that it would make the charge easier in the end. But there are other things, like you could say if you want to get towards an objective, you can take casualties off the back of a Necron unit, then bring them back at the front of the unit, so to get them closer to the objective. And then we have a rules reference for all the rules we've learned so far. Just covers everything, there's nothing new here that I've seen, so it's just handy to have it all in one place. Then we can get into our mission, Total War. So, as we've seen in previous issues, the Marines and the Necrons are now fighting on the surface of Megaria and amongst all the Manufactorums. A small group of destroyers and warriors have encountered some Space Marine aggressors and assault intercessors, and they're just going to duke it out to see if any of them survive. So we have this small miniature board, back down to that. We have 2 Scorpet destroyers, I believe it's 1 with the big sword and 1 with the normal swords, and a unit of 5 Necron warriors with Reapers, versus 2 aggressors, one of them is the Sergeant, and then 3 regular assault intercessors, the 3 easy to build ones. And other than that, it's just a straight up battle to the death, but you can see more examples of reanimation protocols here. You can see 2 Necron warriors are destroyed by shooting, but then 1 reanimates. You can see here the destroyers roll 3 dice for their reanimation protocols, but didn't get 3 5 pluses, so the destroyer that was killed remains dead. And then we just keep going until one side is wiped out, and whoever has any models left wins. So we'll set up the board and get straight into it. Here we are, set up, with the 5 Necron warriors and the 2 destroyers on the left, and the 2 aggressors and the 3 assault intercessors on the right. And the Space Marines get to go first. And we're just going to move up 6 inches towards the Necrons. We'll be able to outshoot them. But the aggressors only get to go 5 because they are slow. And in the shooting phase, I'm going to start with the aggressors, I think. Yeah, and they're definitely in range of the Necron warriors. I'm going to fire the flamethrowers at them. So you get 46 automatic hits. Oh, that's 20. 20 automatic hits. Wounding on 4s. 7, 8, 9.
9 4+ saves. Failed. Only 3, so not too bad. We'll take away these ones.
So they're removed, but now they get a chance to reanimate.
Yep, so I'll just put them there. So yes, so I've lost 3 wounds worth of Necron models, and my unit hasn't been destroyed, so I can roll that many dice, and only 5 pluses will bring back more models. Oh, well, 2 6s, so actually 2 Necron warriors stand back up, because they're only 1 wound each. So I am going to put one back roughly there, and then this one I'm going to put back as far back as I can fit him, just to try and make the charge a little bit longer.
And then the assault intercessors are going to shoot. So this chap on the end is going to throw a crack grenade at the destroyers, and then the other two will just fire their bolt pistols at the Necron warriors. So I'll do the 2 bolt pistols, hitting on 3s, getting a single hit. Wounds on a 4, it does.
A 5+ save, which I failed. We'll do this properly for now and take this warrior away so it is dead, and then I'll roll for its reanimation on 5+. Oh, I got it. Alright, it'll come back exactly where it was then. More generally, you might just speed it up by, without removing the model, just rolling the reanimation protocols and then taking away any that don't stand back up, but that depends on exactly what you want to do, because you do have the freedom to place models where you want, so sometimes you might want to move them around, but in this case I just want him there.
And then the crack grenade at the destroyers, hitting on a 3. Oh, it was a dud and missed. So now we're on to the charge phase. The assault intercessors will charge the Necron warriors, and they get a 6, which will be enough. They get to about here. And then the aggressors will charge the destroyers. Looks like we need a 6 as well. And they get a 7, yeah, that's definitely enough. Both my units charge, so they both get to go first. I'm going to do the aggressors first, and they're going to put all their attacks on the destroyers. And we have 7 attacks from the aggressors, hitting on 4s, getting 3, wounding on 3s, getting 3.
6+ saves required. Made none of them, so flat 2 damage means that this one here will die, taking 2 damage and then 1 damage, and this one is left on 1 wound. I lost an entire destroyer and the unit still exists, so that's 3 wounds worth of destroyer, but I have to succeed on all these rolls because I can't bring back part of a destroyer. I have to bring back a whole one, so need 3 5+. No.
That destroyer remains dead.
Yeah, that destroyer remains dead. Even 2 5+s wouldn't have been enough.
Yeah, so that's important that the reanimation applies first, because I could consolidate here and then they wouldn't actually probably... I suppose you could put it in there, I suppose. If
it would actually be in coherency, yeah.
And then the assault intercessors get to go, and they're just going to pile in. Oh, they're all normal intercessors, so they only have 3 attacks each. 9 attacks hitting on 3s, getting 7. Wounding on 4s, getting 3.
3 5+ saves, made one of those. I'll take away these 2, it doesn't really matter which ones. And then I can make 2 reanimation protocols for those. I've succeeded on 1 of them. So I'll replace one here, and I can put him in engagement range because the unit was in engagement range. But otherwise I wouldn't have been able to do that. Then it's my attacks back. We'll start with the Scorpic Destroyer on the aggressors. He has 3 attacks that hit on 3s. They all hit. Wounding on 3s, strength 7. 2 wounds at AP -4, 3 damage each.
Yeah, so the aggressors are both dead.
Consolidate, but not the full 3 inches. I want to charge in my turn so that he gets to hit first, rather than get into melee, because then the Space Marines get to hit first. And then the Warriors get to hit back. There's no need to pile in. 3 attacks hitting on 3s. Oh, it'll hit. And winning on 4s. Oh, no wounds at all.
And that's it for the Space Marine turn. On to the Necron turn.
The Destroyer regains a wound thanks to living metal, going back up to 2. And then there's no movement to be done. The Necron warriors, yeah, I think they will stay in melee, because it may or may not be relevant in the combat phase. The Destroyer won't move, is just going to go straight to the charge phase, obviously no shooting, and roll his charge, which he gets enough to do this, which is all I want him to do. And then the Destroyer charges, so he gets to attack the Space Marines. 3 attacks on 3s, 2 hits. Wounding on 3s as well, so 1 wound, which is going to kill 1.
Yeah, I'll take this guy off the end. And then the 2 remaining assault intercessors get to go, and they're going to attack the Destroyer because I want to get rid of it. I'm not too worried about the Necrons warriors. So this chap can fight because he's within half an inch of this chap who's within half an inch. So 6 attacks on the Destroyer, hitting on 3s, getting 3. Wounding on 5s, only 1.
And a 4+ save. I've made it. And the Destroyers get to fight. This one will just pile in so as to get in range. And then we've got 3 attacks on the assault intercessors, which hit once. Wounds on a 4. Nope.
And that's it for the Necron turn. So in the Space Marine turn, the remaining assault intercessors get to shoot. Well, we're going to shoot the Destroyer and try and chip away wounds. 2 shots hitting on 3s. 1 hit. Wounds on a 5. It doesn't. And then in the combat phase, the Necrons get to pick a unit first.
So I'll do the Destroyer. 3 attacks hitting on 3s. They all missed.
Blimey. Well, I'm going to try and attack him again in melee, because the Necron warriors haven't done anything so far. So the 2 assault intercessors of 6 attacks, hitting on 3s, getting 4 this time. Wounding on 5s, getting 2.
2 4+ armor saves. Ah, I failed both.
And the unit's destroyed, so you can't reanimate.
Yeah. Well, the Necron warriors get to attack back. 3 attacks hitting on 3s. They all hit.
Well, they're angry now.
Wounding on 4s. 2 wounds.
2 3+ saves. Failed one, so the assault intercessor takes a wound. Yeah, that's it for the Space Marine turn. And the Necron turn.
Unfortunately, that destroyer failing to hit has kind of scuppered my chances probably in this game. If I fall back, I get attacked first and shot. I think it's best just staying in melee, but the Space Marines do get to attack first, unfortunately.
Yeah, so 6 melee attacks again, hitting on 3s. We only got 3 hits. Wounding on 4s, 2 wounds.
2 5+ saves, made 1. Yeah, this one will die, but he can reanimate potentially. It does not. 2 remaining Necrons get to hit back. They just stay where they are. They hit. Wound on 4s, 1 wound.
3+ save, made it. Then we're on to the Space Marine turn, where the 2 Assault Intercessors get to shoot. 2 shots hitting on 3s, getting a hit. Wounds on a 4, it doesn't. And then the Necrons get to fight first.
2 attacks hitting on 3s, 1 hit. Wounds on a 4, that's a wound.
3+ save, made it. 6 attacks from the Assault Intercessors, hitting on 3s, getting 5 hits. Wounding on 4s, getting 4.
4 5+ saves, no, they're dead twice over, and they don't get to reanimate because they're all destroyed.
So yeah, we'll do a best of 3 as usual, but the first game goes to the Space Marines. So we reset the board for round 2, and the Space Marines get to go first again. So like in the previous game, we're just going to move up normally. 6 inches for the Assault Intercessors, and then the Aggressors only get to go 5 because they're slow and lumbering. Then in the shooting phase, I think we're going to start with the Assault Intercessors, and they're going to put everything into the Destroyers. The guy on the end is going to throw a crack grenade. So I'll do the crack grenade first, because it might kill a Destroyer. So single grenade hitting on 3, it does. Strength 6, so it wounds on 3, it does. -1 AP.
So 4+ save, that's a failure.
D3 damage for 3.
Ah, that does destroy a destroyer, but we don't do reanimation protocols yet because it's not the end of their shooting.
Yes, there's still 2 people left to shoot.
Yeah. Oh, so this destroyer will die.
And then the 2 pistols, hitting on 3s, getting a single hit. Wounds on a 5, no.
So now I roll the reanimation because that's the end of their shooting. So we're needing 3 5+. Now, they would be very lucky if they did.
And then the Aggressors are going to fire their flamethrowers at the Destroyer as well. Try and do at least 1 wound to it so they can only need to punch it once. So 4d6 hits, only 13 this time. 13 hits, wounding on 5s. Ooh, 5.
5 3+ saves. Failed 2, so the Destroyer is down to 1 wound.
Only down to 1. And then we're on to the charge phase. I'll do the Aggressors first because they're important. They're more likely to kill the Destroyer, and they're only going to charge the Destroyer. They get an 8, that's definitely enough. We knew a 7 was enough last time. And then the Assault Intercessors will charge the Necron Warriors. Oh, we're only getting a 3, so that's going to be a failed charge. So the Aggressors get to fight first. We have 7 attacks, hitting on 4s. Getting 4, and wounding on 3s. Getting 2.
Needs to roll 2 6s though. No. So the Destroyer is dead, and no reanimation because the unit is gone.
So now the Aggressors get to consolidate, and they are actually going to consolidate into engagement range with the Necron Warriors, so they won't be able to shoot next turn. They do get to fight back though.
Yes, because they have been brought into engagement range, so they're just going to pile them in. So they'll pile in around like this so they can get all 5 of them in range to strike. 5 attacks hitting on 3s, getting 4. Wounding on 5 though. Oh, 3 wounds.
3+ saves for the Aggressors. I made them all. And that'll be it for the Space Marine turn. On to the Necron turn.
Well, there's no point falling back because I'll just get shot and charged again, so might just have to weather the barrage of Aggressors' fists. It's the best bad option. So we're going to do that and go straight to the combat phase, where the Aggressors get to hit.
So I get to pile in first, I suppose, so Sard will pile into that guy. And then 7 attacks hitting on 4s. Only getting 3 this time. Wounding on 2s. Well, that's 3 dead Necrons.
Yeah, because no save allowed. We'll take away these ones, actually, that were in range, and then we get their reanimation protocols. One of them does reanimate, put that at the back. Now the Aggressors can consolidate.
Yeah, so they'll consolidate forwards again to keep the Necrons in range.
Then the Necrons will hit back. They've just got 3 attacks, they're all in range to strike. You get 2 hits. Wounding on 5s, nothing.
And on to Space Marine turn. I'm just going to move the Assault Intercessors to be an inch away, and then they'll charge. It's pretty academic, but they all get in. Intercessors charge, so they go first. 9 attacks hitting on 3s, getting 6. Wounding on 4s, getting 3.
3 5+ saves, made 1. I won't actually take them away, I'll just roll them straight away. 1 comes back, so because I wasn't planning to move them, so we'll just take away 1.
The Warriors get to go next.
Yeah, we'll attack the Assault Intercessors. This is kind of irrelevant. We've got 1 hit. Wounds on a 4. No.
And then the aggressors get to go. Well, Sarge will pile in like that. 7 attacks. Does feel a bit cruel. Hitting on 4s. Oh, they missed!
Oh.
As we head into the Necron turn.
Well, I can't physically fall back. There's no room to do so. So we'll go straight to the combat phase where the Space Marines get to pick a unit.
Yeah, and the aggressors will go first. They'll try and redeem themselves in front of the assault intercessors. Hitting on 4s. Oh, they get 3 this time. And wounding on 2s. Yeah, there's 2 wounds.
Yeah.
That's 2 dead Necrons. And that's a pretty unanimous Space Marine victory. So Space Marines will win the best of 3. Yeah, so we'll do a third game where the Necrons get to go first this time. Well, we reset again, and this time we'll let the Necrons go first.
I actually get to move, so the destroyers will move up 8 inches. So the destroyers get to there. Necron warriors don't actually need to move up very much to get everybody in range, so we're not going to come the full distance. I think I'm going to shoot the assault intercessors because with a 3 damage melee weapon on the destroyers, it doesn't really matter if one of them's wounded. So 10 shots at the assault intercessors, hitting on 3s, getting 5 only. Wounding on 3s with the strength 5 guns, well, they'll wound at least.
So that's 5 plus saves. Oh, didn't make any, so that's... well, I'm going to leave this guy on the end on 1 wound, so the destroyers... now they could probably charge both units, because their bases are so big.
I'm going to just declare the aggressors, though, because I don't want to risk rolling like a 3 or a 4 and failing my charge. That would be a disaster. So, to charge the aggressors, probably need a 3, or I got a 10. We'll come over here, just to give me the option of piling into the assault intercessor if I want to. We'll attack with the 3 damage sword first, the Hyperphase Reap Blade, I think it is. Hitting on 3s, getting 2 hits, and wounding on 3s, or killing on 3s, so killed 1 with the 3 damage.
So the normal man will go down, leaving just Sarge.
The other one will fight, can still fight even though he's not actually within an inch, because targets are declared at the beginning of 4 attacks hitting on 3s, because he's got the other one. And only 2 hits. This is only strength 5, so it wounds on 4s. 2 wounds at AP minus 3.
6 plus saves. Sarge made 1, he lives on 1 wound.
I think we will consolidate to trap Sarge in the corner.
Oh, and the aggressor sergeant gets to fight back. 4 attacks hitting on 4s, 2 hits, wounding on 3s. I'll get that in the box. Still a wound.
Yeah, 2 6 plus saves. Made 1 failed one, so I do take 2 damage. Yeah. We'll put the wounds on the 3 damage weapon because we've got 2 wounded Space Marines, so a 2 damage sword with more attacks is probably a little bit more helpful, more useful at this point.
Yeah, and then we're on to the Space Marine turn. Now the aggressor sergeant's almost certainly going to die this turn, so this last assault intercessor is going to try and get some glory. He's going to move towards the Necron warriors, and then he's going to throw a frag grenade at them. Now he'll throw a crack grenade actually, because it's probably more likely to actually kill one. So single shot hitting on 3, he hits. Wounds on 3, it does.
5 plus save. No. D3 damage doesn't matter, but we do get to reanimate. I'll take this one away. And it fails to reanimate.
Then the assault intercessor will charge the warriors into the charge phase. He gets in, right in there. And he gets to go first since he charged. 3 attacks hitting on 3s. Well, that charge took the wind out of him, he only got 1 hit. Wounds on a 4, it does.
5 plus save. Failed. Take away that one. Reanimate. Oh, it did. I'll reanimate it there.
Then the Necrons get to pick.
Well, I'll pick the destroyers. We'll do the 4 attack normal sword, hitting on 3s. 3. Wounding on 4s. Ooh, just 1.
1. 6 plus. No. So Sarge is killed.
And the destroyers might as well consolidate, moving 3 inches back towards the remaining Space Marine. Then the warriors get to fight. They won't pile in. They've just got 4 attacks. They hit on 3s. 2 hits. Wounding on 4s. Just 1.
3 plus save. Oh, failed. And that will be victory for the Necrons. Yeah, the Necrons get to regain some pride at least. So we'll leave it at that and recap these games for you now. So those were the games for issue 20 of Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine. How did you think those went?
It was funny, wasn't it? It was a game where whoever charged was likely to have the advantage, funnily enough.
Yeah.
But I suppose, obviously, I think in the first game I was let down by bad luck. I think that destroyer probably should have killed at least 1 intercessor on average, but that's what happens sometimes. The second game you figured out what you needed to do, namely shoot the destroyers with everything and then charge them and wipe them out.
Probably got pretty lucky with a crack grenade to kill a destroyer in 1 shot. But,
but even so, even if you'd done a bit less damage, I think the aggressor's charge would have done the job. Whereas when we let the Necrons go first, funnily enough, it went in their favour because charging destroyers are extremely powerful. Yes, and Gauss Reapers are also extremely powerful.
Destroyer and aggressor are probably fairly equivalent.
Yeah, the aggressors have shooting to back up their melee capabilities, which are probably a bit less powerful than the destroyers.
Kind of disappointing that I guess that it's not really the end of the fighting on Megaria, although we are expanding to a new planet in coming issues. Kind of disappointing it's on the small ball, but Reanimation Protocols is a very important rule for the Necrons. It's basically one of their defining features, so probably didn't want to overwhelm me with too many units having it at once.
No, I'm sure it makes sense, and the fact we had 2 destroyers and 2 aggressors is probably just because they wouldn't really fit more models on the board very easily.
And it's also quite a good showcase of how Reanimation Protocols is generally more useful on units with only 1 wound, whereas units with multiple wounds like the destroyers or scarab swarms, you might get lucky to get 1, maybe 2 back if you have a big unit that takes a lot of casualties.
If you lose a single multi-wound model, you're pretty unlikely to get it back. Like, I think the chance of getting 1 destroyer back is 1 in 27. That'd be 3 5+.
And again, it's only when a unit takes casualties from shooting or melee, things like a vehicle exploding. I'm not sure if that will come up very often, or psychic powers like Smite, since that's not a shooting or a melee attack. You don't get to roll Reanimation Protocols against it. But otherwise, it does work against mortal wounds. If a shooting attack causes mortal wounds, you still get to reanimate against those.
And it's also tempting to just treat it like a sort of extra save, like, you get to roll a 5+ to prevent a wound, but it is important to remember that you do have options where you place the models. So sometimes it doesn't matter, but sometimes it can be very useful to take away models and then replace them and come back somewhere else. Like, you can use it to advance up the board or even to get within range of an objective, for example, as long as it's not with the restrictions as detailed earlier, about not getting closer in the charge phase.
Yeah, or if say an assault intercessor unit is moving towards a Necron warrior unit and the assault intercessors shoot, you can remove Necrons from the front rank so that their charge is harder for the assault intercessors and stuff like that.
It sort of accounts for the fact that I think in some of the games up to this point, the Necrons have felt a little bit fragile, perhaps. It's not that they've been underpowered by any means. The number of wins over the last few games has been pretty much even. But the fact is that although Necron warriors only have a 4+ save and 1 wound, the fact that they can keep coming back is a pain. And actually, when we get the full rules for the Necron Overlord with the Resurrection Orb, that has an effect that can just trigger Reanimation Protocols for all destroyed models at once, which is quite powerful. You can just trigger it and bring a unit back. And the Technomancer can automatically reanimate models as well, so...
Yeah, and there's a Walker you get that has an effect where you put it on a unit and it gives them +1 to their reanimation rolls.
Yeah.
And Warriors get to reroll 1s as well, so they're an extremely annoying unit to get rid of. You need to wipe them all out in one go, pretty much.
Yeah, and that's actually a general tactic for fighting Necrons. Don't do a little bit of damage to lots of units. Do a lot of damage to one unit and destroy it entirely, otherwise it might start coming back again. And it's a big part of how the Necron army works, so it's good to actually have those rules at last.
Yeah, and it's something they've had since they were introduced into Warhammer 40,000 as well. It's like,
yeah, it's a big part of their background as well.
They're defining rule.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, there was no new rules otherwise. I mean, Reanimation Protocols is extremely important. Nice to have all the rules in one handy reference as well, with examples of how they work. It's just nice to have.
And as you said, it doesn't feel like...
It doesn't feel like the final battle for Megaria, so presumably the fighting is going to carry on, I'd hope. Because in issue 20 of Conquest and the Mortal Realms magazine, every 20 issues has been sort of an act in the story, but maybe this isn't the end, presumably not. Well, there's a big Necron tomb to clear out, so...
And as we did with this issue, we followed that by doing a collection overview every 20 issues, which obviously we did do.
Yeah, I think it's a fairly good collection so far. It's very heavy melee focus for the Space Marines, but actually you do get quite a lot of assault intercessors with this magazine. Actually, you have all of them by now, so yeah, all 13 of them.
I think it's actually, overall, a pretty balanced collection for both sides so far. We've both got a block of troops. I've got Necron Warriors, you've got assault intercessors. We've got an elite unit like the Destroyers and the Aggressors. We've got 3 characters each, all of whom do slightly different things. Yes, the Necrons have more units, but I suppose their units, on average, are probably less powerful, with the exception of the Destroyers. And obviously, this magazine being for beginners, I do think it's a good introductory set so far for them. I think there's plenty of variety of unit types.
Yeah, and they're fairly, again, Space Marines are a pretty easy faction to paint, and so are the Necrons as well. Certainly more than the Death Guard, which you got with Conquest, and Necrons are basically all one colour, so there you go. And so are Space Marines, especially if you go by the Ultramarines. And the terrain we get as well is cargo containers will probably fit into basically any battlefield as well.
Yes.
And again, they're easy, simple enough to paint. And we've learned some good painting techniques like dry brushing and shading so far. Done a bit on weathering as well in this issue as well. Yeah, it's a pretty good pace of introducing the rules as well. Yeah. I mean, we basically got all the basic rules on how to play the game. It's all just more specialised rules now, I think. We can start learning more detailed rules for each of the units, some of their little quirks that we haven't learned about yet. But otherwise, I don't think there's too much more to say about this issue, these games, or the collection so far. So, as always, if you have any comments of your own, let us know how you've been finding the collection. I believe this is starting in America at the end of the month, something like that, and has started recently in Spain and Germany, that was it. So, if you're just getting the magazine, let us know how you get on. We've been the Tabletop Donkeys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye for now.